Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, our Socialist mayor and Socialist King County executive say, let's double down on saving the failed, corrupt homeless agency. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Yesterday, as I was leaving an event, I checked my phone real fast and saw that Nithya Raman, the socialist who moved to Los Angeles to run for city council, who had no support, who nobody heard of, who was trailing by 8 points on election night, is somehow basically ahead of Spencer Pratt in the Los Angeles mayoral race. Now, as we were discussing on Friday, so many things about these late returns are not making sense. When you have a drop of 24,000 votes, and not a single one of them is for one of the candidates, something's rotten in the state of Denmark. Something just ain't kosher with that. So AP still isn't calling the race for Raman, but Decision Desk called it for her and says her and Bass are going to be moving on to the general election in November. Now, immediately, people are screaming and yelling, voter fraud, voter fraud, voter fraud. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. This isn't a bug. It's a feature. This is what the system is. In fact, I'm going to give you a couple stories here, and I apologize for triggering everybody. But these stories might sound familiar, and there's a reason they might sound familiar. Bill Malugin from Fox News says that last year, a woman in Orange County, California, was charged with felonies after she successfully registered her dog to vote in California and cast multiple mail-in ballots in the dog's name in California elections. She was only caught because she turned herself in, and her attorney said she wanted to make a point. Now, benefit of the doubt to the fraudster for a second here. How many people here have thought about doing that? Oh, it'd be so easy for me to exploit this hole in the system, but I really don't want a conviction for election tampering on my record because we know how easy it could be to exploit some of the loopholes here in Washington. The dog's vote was successfully counted in the 2021 recall election of Gavin Newsom, but the dog's ballot in the 2022 primary was rejected. According to the Orange County DA's office, proof of residence or identification is not required for citizens to register to vote in state elections, nor is it required to cast a ballot in state elections. However, proof of residence and registration is required for first-time voters to vote in a federal election. As a result, the 2022 primary ballot cast in the dog's name was challenged and rejected. The woman named Laura Lee Urex has pleaded guilty and is awaiting sentencing. She has no prior criminal history. Prior to her arrest, she mockingly posted on social media that her dog, Maya Jean, had voted and continued receiving mail-in ballots, posting photos of Maya Jean with her ballots. So I'm going to give her benefit of the doubt that, yes, this was actually done to make a point of how messed up California's voting system is. But it's not just some lady and a dog saying this. U.S. Attorney for California, Bill Esseely, has attempted to undertake an investigation of California's allegedly fraudulent voting process, saying that protecting the integrity of California's election is a top priority for my office. However, he said California is blocking a federal audit of its voter rolls. This is a state that allows first-time voters to register to vote using, wait for it, gym membership cards, employer ID cards, credit or debit cards, prescription drug labels, and insurance cards. I think my insurance card for my car might still say New York on it. I think it might. It's not the insurance for my car. That I keep in the car. But my actual insurance card, I think it was issued when I lived in New York. I think it's the same one. So this state allows illegal aliens to get state-funded insurance. So if you have an illegal alien getting state-funded insurance, that means the illegal alien can register to vote using a state-funded insurance card, but they don't need to go that far. All they need is gym membership. There was this guy who used to go to the Planet Fitness I used to go to. He may still go there. I haven't been in a while, clearly, judging by my physique. This gentleman, I actually had to hand it to him. He was a homeless guy. And every time when I was there, he would come in and he would use the showers. He would clean himself up and he would work out for a little bit. And I think to myself, for $10 a month, that's a pretty good deal, by the way, for a homeless guy. Way to be industrious. I had no problem like working out next to the dude or whatever. He didn't smell like the street. His stuff was there. But he pretty much kept himself clean and kept to himself, and you got to respect that a little bit. He had enough common sense to do that. Didn't look like your typical Fergie addict. So apparently also in California, they have dead voters not being removed from the rolls in a prompt manner, nor are those who are convicted of disqualifying felonies. California also allows ballot harvesting, where the chain of command, a voter's ballot goes from voter to a person who collects the ballots for delivery before being handed in for processing. Third-party Democrat-backed groups routinely serve as the middleman, which makes it very difficult to actually track to know where these things go. So if you wanted an excuse for the Safe America Act, if you wanted a reason for the Save America Act, it's right here. Does all of this sound familiar to you? Does all of this sound triggering to you who live here in Washington? I got an email last night from a listener right after I found this out. Hello, Ari. I received a voter registration for my niece who lives in Texas. She has never lived in Washington. I've been receiving her mail since last year as I have become the trustee of her mother's estate. She is on Social Security and is autistic, so she is considered special needs. And they sent me a picture of the voter registration that they got in the mail. I get these kind of emails all the time. Double balloting, people who never lived in the state, names spelled wrong, people who are dead. And I have found out the reason why. Washington State is so desperate to register anybody who might be here, they basically accept whatever databases they can get their hands on and just say, this person should be registered to vote. This person should be registered to vote. It's by design. So I told this person, odds are, when he became trustee of the mother's estate, and this person's name was on it, and everything goes to his address, they go, oh, she's got a daughter. She must be with him. Boom, Washington State. Even though the person never requested voter registration, even though the person may not be capable of registering to vote. I think the dead guy who died in my bedroom, my bedroom or the hospital, I think that guy, I think I got his ballots up until COVID. I think that's when I stopped getting his ballots. I was shocked. Of all years, that's the year I didn't get his ballot. But yeah, came for years and years, and I notified elections many, many times. California, election day has turned into election season. In most places, voters go to bed on election night with a pretty good idea of who won. In California, especially Los Angeles, you can take a week out from election day and still have races flipping this way or the other way. Candidates who thought they suddenly lost taking the lead. Do you remember what Raman said on election night? This is Nithya Raman on election night.
Adnan Kaveri, I hope you know that everything every person in this room is fighting for in this campaign has been about building a city that's worthy of you and every child in this city.
She was crying. She was basically conceding. She thought she had lost. Oh, not so fast. We got gym membership votes to count. We got dead people to count. We got homeless people to count. You name it, we got all these votes to count. In fact, CNN says, pay no attention to the gym membership cards. Nothing to see here.
Dynamic that we saw back in 2020 when states took longer to vote. It looked like Republicans were doing better at the beginning. They tend to vote earlier. The votes tend to be counted just culturally, not even sure why, tend to be counted first. And then once the votes that are already there legally are counted, it looks different.
Okay. No. That's not the rule. What was the rule up until mail-in balloting? Democrats and diehards vote early. Democrats and diehards. And then when the working stiffs get off of work, they go to the polls, and then you turn into a pumpkin if you're a Democrat in a Republican district. That was the rule. Then here comes mail-in balloting. And all of a sudden, you can have ballots coming long after Election Day, which is why the case is before the Supreme Court right now. Election analyst Nate Silver even called out California's system. He's never seen anything like it before. It makes no sense. Somebody posted a great throwback picture. I think it's from the 1960s, maybe the 1950s, where it's a bunch of people in California elections tabulating the results, and they've got those old accounting things with the handle you pull back with the big paper that spools out of them, the accounting machines, and said, yeah, they were able to count the votes in 7 hours. In-person voting in 7 hours. I don't know if it's true, but that's pretty funny. So who's actually running this disastrous system? In Los Angeles County, the man's name is Dean Logan.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Some of you right now are yelling at your radio. Some of you are yelling at your computer because Dean Logan used to be here in Washington. Before he became the Los Angeles County Registrar, Logan ran King County elections in Washington State during the infamous 2004 governor's race between Republican Dino Rossi and Democrat Christine Gregoire. The race became the gold standard for election chaos. Maybe in the aftermath of the 2000 election with hanging chads and all that craziness. On election night, Dino Rossi led. After the initial count, he was ahead by 261 votes out of nearly 2.8 million cast. Then came a machine recount, and Rossi still led, this time by just 42 votes. Then came the hand recount, and that's when everything changed. King County found, and I'm using air quotes, hundreds of previously rejected ballots. Ultimately, 566 ballots were added back into the count. After Rossi had won the original count and the machine recount, Gregoire was declared the winner after the manual recount by roughly 130 votes. So Rossi won once, Rossi won twice, and then after more ballots surfaced, and I remember, weren't we finding them in the trunks of cars and coming from prisons and convicted felons voting and all that? Gregoire won the third count and became governor of Washington State. The entire incident became a national embarrassment for Washington State and one of the first major stress tests of the vote-by-mail system. For many voters, it wasn't confidence building. It was the complete opposite. To this day, he's getting Rossi'd. He's getting Dino'd. We see what's happening. That is used as a verb. Oh, remember that Gregoire election? That is still used to this day. And yet, instead of that record being treated as a warning sign, Dean Logan eventually landed in Los Angeles County, the largest and most complex local election jurisdiction in America, serving more than 5.2 million registered voters across more than 500 political districts. His tenure in Los Angeles had its own problems. In 2008, roughly 50,000 ballots were initially excluded because voters failed to properly mark party affiliation bubbles required for certain presidential primaries. You remember that fun here? You remember that? Then in 2018, Los Angeles County contracted with Smartmatic to help build its voting solutions for the all-people system known as VSAP at a cost of roughly $282 million. The system also faced scrutiny before its countrywide rollout. Election security analysts and state reviews reportedly identified vulnerabilities, warning about possible tampering or disruptions if problems were not addressed. And here we go again. the same thing again, because this is the system they want. The more chaos and confusion, the better off they are. Here, you couldn't even make it look credible. Spencer Pratt posted this. A net swing of more than 43,000 votes since Tuesday. 43,000, huh? Where have I seen that number before? And he puts up an article. Why are there so many homeless people in LA? In it, it says, on any given night in Los Angeles County, 43,699 people experienced homelessness on any given night in the city of Los Angeles. Does that mean 43,000 homeless people voted? No, but we know what happens. People go into old age homes and they help people vote. We know it's happening right here. We know what happens in the Rainier Beach Community Center, by the way, when the Somali community gets together and somebody from a campaign or the Democratic Party goes in there and says, here's how you vote. Is that illegal? No, it's part of the new system. That's how they do it. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is what is actually happening. Until Republicans learn to ballot harvest and ballot harvest well, this is going to continue to happen. And as I say, every time an election rolls around, I said, why aren't we playing by the same rules as the Democrats? Why aren't we doing the same thing they do? I stopped asking Republicans, how's your ballot harvesting operation? Because since 2004, I don't know anybody who has seriously done it. Not the state GOP, not county GOPs. I think there's been one or two cases in like Yakima and a few other places where they're actually working to do it. But yet, we continue to lose because this is how the system is designed. You want the system repealed? You want the system fixed? You want it not open to this fraud? Then what you have to do is help ballot harvest because it's not illegal. I go to my relatives, I get all of their ballots before every election. And I love to tell the story about my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law, up until October 7th, huge liberal, hated Trump, despised him with every fiber of her being. A couple days before Election Day, I go to her house to pick up the ballots. She threw her ballot at me after filling it out, threw it at me, and uttered an expletive. I said, what did I do? She goes, you made me vote for him. I go, excuse me, what? She goes, you made me vote for him. I said, what did I do? I didn't fill out the thing for you or anything. And she goes, how can I vote for Kamala Harris when she's crazy Hamas supporting and the Democrats have all lost their minds and what's going on with college campuses? Now I'm forced to vote for Trump. And I said, it's not me that made you vote for Trump. That's the Democrat Party made you vote for Trump. And actually, now she's becoming more MAGA than I am. This is how it happens. But you go and you pick up the ballots from your family members. Just like I went the other day, got the signatures to repeal the income tax from my in-laws. That's what you do if you want to win. It just has to be done on a massive scale because this is how the system's designed. Have you seen Gangs of New York? Anybody see Gangs of New York? So, New York in the 1800s, where the elections, Tammany Hall and all that, where the elections are clearly fraudulent, where they're shaving guys' beards off and sending them back to vote. One guy comes out and they go, did you vote? And he goes, yep, did my civic duty. And they go, just once? That's not your civic duty. They shave him, they send him back. And then they actually go to the mayor at one point and they say, we're out of ballots. What are we supposed to do? He goes, just keep counting. Just keep counting. It's the modern day version of Tammany Hall. It's the modern day version of that. And as long as we continue to let the Democrats be the only ones playing the game, we will not win. Until the Supreme Court makes a ruling that ballots have to be received by Election Day, or until the SAVE Act is passed, and I have more confidence in the Supreme Court right now than in Congress right now. Until those things happen, these are the rules of the game. The NBA Finals are tonight. What if one team said, you know what? We're not going to take three-pointers all night. We're just not. We're just going to drive to the hoop again and again. Now, that may be a strategy, But if you're open for a field goal, you take the shot. That's what you do. And guess what? You'll get more points that way. What if one team said, you know what? We're not taking foul shots the rest of the night because they're just worth 1 point. You're playing at a disadvantage. We are playing at a disadvantage right now. And until Republicans wise up to that fact, we will continue to lose. You think the game is rigged? I hear that argument. I hear it all the time. Then go out and play by the same rules, or we will continue to lose and lose and lose. And let me tell you something. If they see that Republicans finally figured it out, that's when they'll want to get rid of it. When did they want to start banning Facebook ads in politics? When Republicans figured out how to do it. You think there's not enough Republicans here? Let me give you an example. Scott Pressler out in Pennsylvania. What did he do? He went out and found the Amish and said, are you mad? Let's get you registered to vote. Anybody here ever talk to the Mennonite community out in Leavenworth or anywhere else that they are? Are they voting? I don't know. I'm asking a question. I am asking, has anybody actively sought out these underserved populations and communities that aren't known for their voting path? Has anybody sought them out? Is anybody doing that? This is what we have to do if we want to win. If we don't do it, we are playing at a disadvantage and we will continue to lose. Speaking of losers, by the way, Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson is doubling down on a failed and corrupt homeless agency. Tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. That's right, my friends. Are you ready for what's coming to Seattle this month? Is Seattle ready for the Third World Cup? That's our new intro for this segment. Today, one of our wonderful listeners sent me a video of one of the brand new water fountains installed for the World Cup. Now, this isn't your classic water fountain. This is meant to fill up water bottles. So it doesn't spout from the bottom, it spouts from the top and comes down, and there's a space to put your ginormous... Every time I turn around, my wife's water bottle is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Have you noticed this? These things, soon she's going to be carrying around the thing they have Gatorade in at the Super Bowl. These things just keep getting bigger and bigger. Anywho, today somebody sent me a video of one of our quote-unquote unsheltered neighbors showering in it. And you say... How does that happen, Ari? Well, in this specific video sent by one of our wonderful listeners, the dude has his head shoved in under the water that is pouring down on his head. And then my favorite part of this, there is a label on the fixture itself. It says, no brass or copper parts inside, which means they are worried about people breaking in and stealing the parts of the brand new installed water fountains for the World Cup. Your tax dollars at work, my friends.
Yeah, at the very least, the gentleman was washing his hair and face.
Yes.
With the water that was coming down.
We don't know what else he might have washed.
Sure.
This was just a short video. We don't know what other parts of his anatomy, though I got to figure it's got to be hard to get other parts of the anatomy up in there, but I've seen weirder things before.
You could do the move where you're like splashing water from up into your armpits or something.
Yeah.
You know, if you were willing to take your shirt off and go that whole route. I mean, it looks like a hard thing to get anything clean with the amount of water that is available coming out of that thing. But I guess...
I disagree. It looks like a steady stream of water, some decent pressure, it looks like.
Other than your head and face, it would be a little difficult,
You could get the arms in. I think you get the arms in, and that's where it would be without difficulty.
Or washing your hands, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think you're getting the rest of your anatomy with this sucker, but there you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My question is...
That didn't take long.
No, it really did. What are we talking about, a week here?
Yeah.
Maybe a week? Oh, it's like the same timeline on the bathrooms. We said, how long was it going to take till they got vandalized? What was it, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, which I thought was crazy they lasted that long. That's right, my friends. Would you actually use one of these water fountains? Well, what are we doing to fix all this? Well, Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson over the weekend unveiled one of her new tiny home encampments, which she's calling Pallet Home because that's the company, but actually that sounds worse to me because when you say Pallet Home, I think to myself the wooden pallets from shipping that are all stacked up. No, they got about 75 homes in this encampment. I think they managed to house, quote unquote, 50 to 75 people. Didn't you say 500 by the World Cup? I think you're a little short. I'm not that great at math, but I think you're a little short on your number. So what's the plan for these new things? Another tiny home village? What's the plan for these? How's this going to work out? Como News has a story for us.
But while treatment and services will always be available, the mayor confirms they're not required for people to move in.
The process of recovery is really complicated and difficult, and so we're not demanding that people be, abstinent when they enter this village.
This has some questioning the new site's success, yet shelter partners claim they've done public outreach with nearby residents and business owners ahead of opening.
Oh my God, there's so much to unpack in that. So, number one, you are not required to go to drug treatment, mental health treatment, or anything else while you're in this encampment. So how long until one of those shacks becomes the designated drug use area like in the other tiny home villages? That means you can bring in your drugs. That means you can bring in your firearms. That means you can bring in your weapons. That means you can do whatever you want. You can come in with outstanding warrants. They did outreach to the local businesses and residents. Why would you need to do outreach to the local because you're putting a low-barrier homeless encampment right next to their homes, which means you're bringing in all the drug addicts, which means the area around this thing soon will turn into a third world cesspool. She's trying to shove them all out of the way for the World Cup. How long does it take till one of these things goes south? A week? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Let's see how long it takes until this place goes south as well, because you know it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. Do we have under-over bets? Do we have under-over bets that are going on right now? That would be what I want to do for the show. Let's do under-over bets. How long until we get our first criminal report from this encampment? Insane. Absolutely insane. When we come back, my friends, we going back to war in the Middle East. It's been an exciting weekend. And one Republican congressman does his parting shots on the way out the door and just looks ridiculous. We'll tell you what happened today on the House of Congress. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Pretty exciting weekend. My son is graduating from college in Israel. And you're probably thinking to yourselves, wait, I thought your son was in the IDF. Why is he graduating from college? And Ari, why are you on air today? Shouldn't you be in Israel for your son's graduation? Well, I'll tell you this. His college knows that there's a lot of kids who are in the IDF, so they postponed the actual graduation for a year so anybody who was serving while they were in school can finish up their requirements and graduate with the rest of their class. So technically, he graduated last year. I had his brother, who's also there, take him out for dinner at a really nice steakhouse. But my son was telling me he was worried the actual graduation ceremony wasn't going to happen. Why? Because over the weekend, you've got Iran firing ballistic missiles at Israel. You've got Israel attacking Iran. And you've got President Trump telling everybody to cut it out. Here's what actually happened, just so everybody is clear. Iran threatened to attack Israel if Israel attacked Beirut. Israel warned it would strike Beirut if Hezbollah attacked Israeli cities. Hezbollah then launched missile attacks on northern Israel. Israel responded with strikes in Beirut. So Iran wanted an excuse and started launching ballistic missiles at Israel. So now you've got Hezbollah and Iran launching ballistic missiles at Israel. So Israel says, I'm not going to take this. They go in, they take out targets in Beirut, they take out targets in Iran. Then the Houthi rebels go, wait, we want to play too. We want to play too. So they start launching ballistic missiles. Then the 5 guys who are left from Hamas go, we want to play also. And they start launching whatever they got left over at Israel. Israel's like, hey, we're going in and we're taking everybody out. And Trump sees his entire peace deal falling apart and says, Israel, no, you're not going in there. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do this. Because then my peace deal is going to fall apart. Does the peace deal even really still exist when you have things like this happening? I don't think Iran wants to make peace because they had all their proxies launch missiles. Hamas, proxy of Iran. Hezbollah, proxy of Iran. Houthis, proxy of Iran. If you tell all your proxies to start launching, you are not interested in peace. Something people need to understand about this Islamic death cult that's running Iran right now, they think God's on their side, and they think they will win eventually, no matter what it takes. How do you make a peace deal with somebody like that? They don't understand weakness of negotiating. They only understand strength. We've been talking about a peace deal for 2 months now. Ceasefire deal for 2 months now. I understand these things take time, but what has changed? What has changed that's going to give us a peace deal right now? What has changed that's going to open the Hormuz Strait? Nothing. The reason Iran decided to give everybody the go-ahead is because they think Trump is just going to say, back to your corners, back to your corners. And that's exactly what happened. Now, while we don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, I am increasingly skeptical that this is going to be good for any of us. Go in and finish the job, or take out the next level of leadership until you actually find the moderates. Now, on the plus side, there were some student uprisings over the weekend in Iran, but they didn't make a lot of international news. Does that mean that people are finally uprising against the IRGC? I don't know. I think all anybody's going to be talking about the next few weeks is the World Cup and how Iran's coming to Seattle, but they have to train in Mexico because of visa issues. They didn't want them chilling out in the United States. So I think that's all we're going to be talking about. Meanwhile, I'm worried we're ripe for a terrorist attack, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, right here in Seattle during that game between Iran and Egypt on Pride Day at the end of the month. Today, Representative Thomas Massie, who got ousted by his own constituents in Kentucky, not AIPAC, not the Jews, his own constituency, said, we've had enough of this guy and his crazy and being anti-Trump in a district that went 75% for President Trump, decided to air his grievances against Israel and attack on the USS Liberty. What happened with the USS Liberty in 1967, the USS Liberty got too close to Israel while the Six-Day War was going on between Israel and all its surrounding neighbors. Israel thought it was getting shelled from the sea, and the United States ship was supposed to be 100 miles away from all this. What they were doing there, a whole nother question. So they attacked the USS Liberty by mistake. In doing so, what they did afterwards was immediately, once they realized it was a USS ship, they called off the attack. They came and brought in medical help. They apologized for it to the U.S. Embassy, admitted what they had done, and paid reparations. Tom Massie bringing this up is feeding into a whole conspiracy theory of the U.S. did it and willingly wanted to attack a U.S. ship. At the time, we were not allies with Israel. So at the time, you think that's a smart move? A nation that had barely survived the last war saying, let's attack the United States. That makes good sense. Let's do that while we're fighting for their own survival against Syria, Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Jordan, and everybody else. Oh, and Lebanon. Everybody else in that area. You think that makes good sense? No, it doesn't. So to be intellectually consistent, Here are some other countries Tom Massey should also speak out against, based on things that happened decades ago. Japan, UK, France, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Mexico, Spain, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Italy, Bulgaria, Romania, Vietnam, Cambodia, Panama, and Grenada. Why do you think he's going after just Israel? Why do you think he's bringing up this stuff now? Because what he's trying to do is burn every bridge on the way out, cement his place with Tucker Carlson and the Podcast First crew, and get whatever check is likely coming to him from a nation like Qatar. That's what this is all about. He is just giving his anti-Semitic bona fides on the way out the door. And it's just sad. In fact, most of his talking points came from an Al Jazeera special. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. If you had any doubts who Thomas Massey was beforehand, now you know exactly who he is. Up next, my friends, a pride display at a local school had federally controlled drugs as part of it. What were those doing there? We'll give you the insane details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I'm not familiar with this X account, but he's got a pretty big following. His name is Murray Hill Guy. He's from New York. And he posted this. I don't know if it's real, but I giggled when I read it. Friend is visiting Seattle this weekend. Here is his report. Seattle nightlife might be the most cooked market in America. Went out in Capitol Hill with my buddy. In New York, he's batting over 500 on infield cold approaches for hitting on women. Talking the lingo here. Seattle, he went 0 for 15. 0 for 15. Girls with face tats, dyed green hair, 3 piercings, smoking cigs outside the bar were rejecting him and laughing like they were Victoria's Secret's models. Wait, it gets better. It gets better. At least 25% of the girls were lesbians, and my friend was still trying to recruit them away from their girlfriends like he was an SEC football coach. I've never seen a dating market this brutal. Seattle nightlife needs a federal investigation. Is Seattle the worst dating market in the U.S.?
Well, I thought it was kind of funny when he went up to Capitol Hill to hit on some ladies.
That's where you're clearly from out of town.
You're out of town.
Clearly from out of town. That's number one. You don't go to Capitol Hill for that. I think that perhaps if his friend swung a different direction, he played for a different team, you might say.
He might be hitting well over whatever his percentage is. No, yeah. I mean, it is weird because it's so spread out in Seattle. Like, there were areas, even in my 20s, it was always like a Pioneer Square, which had its own set of problems and it dried up, and then it was Belltown. Yeah. And then that had its problems. Now it's just kind of pockets of places. You just got to know where to go, but you can't go to one place and just go to bar to bar to bar to bar. It's just, there isn't kind of that neighborhood anymore in Seattle.
Right, but you got 2 problems. One, mass transit's not going to get you to different neighborhoods. 2, you ain't going to drive if you're drinking. 3, if you take an Uber, it's going to be a fortune because of how much it costs here.
I should say that where this guy should go is probably Fremont.
Because the commies?
There's a... no one cares about that lives there. No one's like... I'm a communist. I'm going to go to Fremont.
I'm going to go to Fremont. With you. Yeah.
No. But there's enough bars in that area and kind of clubs that you can actually go down the street. That's probably where you'd want to go, there or Ballard.
Well, I just find it funny because...
But that's so far away. Like,
no, but when somebody comes to town, you say, where's the good nightlife? People will say Capitol Hill. They might not. They might just go, yeah, Capitol Hill, that's where the bars are. They might forget what kind of nightlife they're talking about at Capitol Hill.
Yeah. Because there's always stuff going on up there, but... But, again.
Yes, we all know what you're getting. In fact, I wonder how many of these girls with face tats or green hair or whatever were not actually girls.
Right.
It is Capitol Hill, after all. Now, it is Pride Month. So in Pride Month, you get the craziest stories of all this stuff, right? That was entertaining. This one's very serious. Somebody sent Brandy Cruz pictures of a display in Graham Capucin High School for Pride Month. It's got a jar filled with vials of testosterone injections in the jar itself. Now, it's kind of hard to tell from the picture if these are used little vials or full little vials. Either way, this is federally controlled. You can't just give those out, and they for sure shouldn't be in a diorama you built for Pride Month. Remember dioramas when you were a kid? You get a shoebox, and you build a little scene from the Hardy Boys or whatever it was that you read to impress your teacher. I remember one time I felt so proud of myself because I read the novelization of Back to the Future 3, and I got to build a diorama out of the hoverboard scene with the train and the DeLorean. I'm sure if I looked at it now, I'd be like, what the hell is that? But I think I used my Han Solo action figure as Marty McFly. I think for whatever reason, he had a vest. I think I painted that a little orange or something with something that would come off. I think that was my thinking at the time.
Got to do your best with what you got to work with.
Exactly. Yeah. You see what I have to work with here, right? So I've got that. Things have changed a lot. We didn't get medically controlled supplements or injections for our displays. So what happens here is Brandy gave updates through the weekend. First was my favorite of people saying she faked the pictures. Okay, guys, This is like the tip of the iceberg of crazy we see around here during Pride Month, and especially when libs of TikTok share something and then it goes mega viral. Then you get all the real crazies who are like, it's AI. It's not AI, guys. You know how you know it's not AI? Who is the sheriff in Pierce County? Keith Swank. Keith Swank saw these, sent his sheriff's deputies out there to see what the hell is going on where you have medically controlled vials at a school in public where anybody can take those things. I mean, look, think about it this way. Here, back to the Future reference. If you have the DeLorean sitting out at Universal Studios and people can just walk up to it, they're going to take little pieces of it, which is exactly what happened to it over time. I remember the displays in school over time, if they were left out for too long, things would start falling apart, or if they were interesting, start disappearing until the thing got replaced for the next month. You think some lunatic's not going to walk off with this stuff? So according to Brandy, Pierce County Sheriff Keith Swank was not playing around. His detectives seized the testosterone vials this morning, and they've got images of these things being checked into if they belong to a teacher or a student. Because you know what, my friends? These things got numbers on them, and you can track where these things came from. So who gave them to the school for the diorama? Just when you think you've seen it all. This is now for Pride Month, and so many people that I know in the LGBT community, yes, I do have some friends in that community, they say to me, this is not us. This is not what we are about. All we wanted was a flag. All we wanted was to be recognized or legal marriage or whatever it was. And this is what has happened.
P.S. What a lame diorama that you're using medical, medicine, medication.
It's a very weird thing. You could have had Marty McFly or Han Solo painted to look like Marty McFly on a hoverboard with a DeLorean and a train. Would have been way cooler. Up next, my friends, Bob Ferguson gets ratioed up the wazoo because even with his massive, massive taxes, he claims we're going to be running a budget deficit. Gee, I wonder why. Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, finally, a protest I can get behind here in Seattle. This one's against Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson. But before we get to any of that, something is weird going on with the signature gathering, and I don't mean the signature gathering itself. I mean the people trying to shut it down. So, Jezebel PNW, it's an X account that we've interacted with before in the past, tagged me in this right before the show today. What is it? It's a 911 call to where signature gatherers are at the Fred Meyer in Auburn, Washington. People are literally calling the police. It's on the crime radar tracking map to call the police to shut down the signature gatherers against the income tax. Are you kidding me with this? This is bonkers. This is crazy. In fact, we got a text. We got a text from Jeff and Kent during the show. Jedi Master Hoffman, me and my wife, he says to do it with the accent. He specifically specified that, Kevin. Sign the Let's Go Washington petition this weekend at the Renton Freddy's. He said, we felt bad for the gatherer, though. Folks were polite, but keep telling him he couldn't be there and they were going to call management. And when we came out, he was gone. This is, okay, guys, Town Square. If your area is Town Square and you let anybody collect signatures there, you have to let everybody collect signatures there. If your policy is no signature gathering, then fine, that's your policy, but you better enforce it for everybody. I mean, this weekend, we had a wonderful experience. This weekend, I'm out at the Roy Rodeo. And so for those of you who've been to the Roy Rodeo, the way it works, or for those of you who haven't, rather, it's a big field. And out on the field, that's where everybody parks. And you go inside to the rodeo area itself. But outside, there's a few booths. So KVI was out there. Hank at 101.5 FM was out there with us. The U.S. Army was out there recruiting. And then Let's Go Washington showed up. And what's amazing was you have this line of people wrapped around trying to get into the rodeo. They're waiting for their tickets very politely. And they're running over to the Let's Go Washington booth to sign the signature to repeal the income tax. They just kept coming and coming and coming because people are excited to see this thing. You didn't have to convince them. I went out there and was giving out the KVI pens so they would have something to write with. But people were just signing and signing and signing. And yet people are trying to shut this down. The Democrats are ramping up their efforts, as we discussed on Friday. They're having a rally coming up on June 17th to label all of us as bigots and pedophiles and whatever name they can come up with, because they're trying to make sure that boys can continue playing in girls' sports and trying to make sure parents still don't have rights. And they haven't even ramped up the income tax. They haven't even ramped up that they want to make sure that thing goes through yet. Just wait. They will soon enough. So what they're doing is we've had incident after incident of signature gatherers getting attacked. Again, what is this? Like the 10th time they've done an initiative and this is happening with the signature gatherers? Now, why are we trying so hard to do this? I'll take you back to 2019 when everybody was trying to stop the head tax on Amazon employees because everybody here with common sense said, if you tax the high earners, Amazon will leave Seattle and you will kill the golden goose. What happened? All the moderate candidates lost, and then they imposed the Amazon tax, and then Amazon, wouldn't you know, started moving out to Bellevue. People here know that if the wealthy leave, they will take their wealth with them, and that means two things. One, they will take their businesses with them, which means less jobs, which means it might cost them their jobs. But on top of that, it means that the government is not going to have as much money as it did before from its tax base. And as a result, they're going to lower that threshold for millionaires to people who make $750,000 a year, to people who make $500,000 a year, to people who make $250 a year, to people who make $100 a year, and then they're taxing everybody. Just watch. That's what's going to happen. On Friday, right before I went offline for the weekend, I saw this story with Rich Barton, the billionaire entrepreneur who founded Expedia, Zillow, and Glassdoor. He announced he is officially relocated from Seattle to Las Vegas, becoming the latest prominent figure to leave the state amid the income tax, which was passed by the Democrats. Now, what he wrote on social media was, officially a Las Vegas resident. Kids are launched, empty house, and we're excited to start this next chapter. Okay, dude, we know what's actually going on here. You're getting out of here because of the income tax. You know why? You know what a lot of couples do? I'm sort of toying with this experience. I'm enjoying my big empty house now. I love my children. Don't get me wrong. I love them to pieces. But it's just me and my wife. We can eat what we want for dinner. Don't have to worry about the kids. Watch what we want on TV.
My wife.
Exactly. Way quieter. I love my kids. I can't wait to see them. But it's kind of nice being empty nesters. Kind of nice. You don't all of a sudden go, all right, let's pack up and move. You don't pack up and move. If you want the grandkids, then you pack up and move. Rich Barton is likely moving because of the income tax, but wants to avoid a political fight or a political battle, or wants to avoid, hey, Rich, how'd you vote? Who'd you donate to? Did you donate to those Democrats that passed that income tax on you? I don't know. I'm just asking. Were you one of those donors? Were you trying to stop those guys? Maybe, perhaps. Or are you getting out of here because of the income tax? Just like Howard Schultz, just like Jeff Bezos, just like countless other people whose names we don't even know. How many businesses have fled already? How many? Starbucks with their expansion in Nashville while they're laying off everybody here. Janicki getting out of here. Meta laying off people. Genie Industries, Novanta, Republic National Distributing Company, Delta Camshaft. The list goes on and on and on. How many people are leaving? How many times have we told you, ironically, about the Zillow reports of how many houses are for sale right now? Double the inventory we normally have this time of year. And when you start losing your tax base, you look for new people to tax. So Turd Ferguson posts this over the weekend. He posts a letter from the Office of Financial Management, or in this state, we should call them the Office of Financial Mismanagement, and to all agency directors. It says, as we enter the 2027-2029 biennial budget cycle, I will start by thanking each one of you, blah, 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 blah. Protecting core services in a sustainable and equitable way must be our priority. Simultaneously, we must ensure state government has a solid financial foundation for the long term. To do this, the realities of our current budget must continually be kept at the forefront while you develop your decision packages. To be direct, there will be significant budget shortfalls next biennium in both the operating and transportation budgets. Wait. I thought that's why you guys passed that other gas tax, not the Climate Commitment Act. That other one, which spiked gas prices even more on top of the Climate Commitment Act. Wasn't that to solve the hole in the budget for transportation? We're going to have to reach out to Representative Barkas, get him back on the show to talk about this. You guys said that was going to solve the problem. And now you're having a budget shortfall again? Wait. I thought you were passing the income tax in 3 years when it actually goes into effect. I thought you were passing that to solve the issue of all the shortfalls. I thought the largest tax increase in Washington state history, which you guys signed into law last year, I thought that was going to protect the essential services. I thought that was going to do it. Oh, wait. You mean you just have a spending problem, an out-of-control spending problem that you cannot control? Have you thought about not paying for trans surgeries for the convicted felons? Have you given that any thought at all before you talk about the essential services? I mean, we know that at minimum they're spending $5 million on that. But from what people have told me, you're looking at $10 million. You think maybe that money could be put to better use? Just a thought. How many other things could we spend money on that are more important than laser hair removal for trans inmates? For trans inmates to get fake boobs in prison. Has anybody thought of anything that might be more important than that, than using Medicaid money to pay for the laser hair removal and the fake boobs? Anybody think of anything else our money could be spent on? Turd Ferguson writes, my team and I are working closely with our agencies regarding our budget outlook. This letter from the Office of Financial Management Director lays out the challenge well. There's a lot of information still to come before I propose my budget in December, including 2 caseload forecasts and 3 additional revenue Whoa. Revenue? Let's see. Hang on. Washington State doesn't make anything, produce anything, or sell anything. What are their sources of revenue? Oh, taxes. So are those revenue forecasts not looking so good because so many people live in Washington State? Perhaps. Maybe. That King County report we did last week, where it was talking about how all the high earners are leaving King County and somehow we're importing all the poor people. Do you think that maybe that might have an effect on things? That's right. All the millionaires and billionaires are leaving town, but all the homeless, Antifa supporting, whoever else you can find, they're all coming here. The trans refugee crisis, right? That said, he says, we know the shortfall will be significant. A significant shortfall. Do you guys remember? God, I'm having deja vu. Turd Ferguson's first year, he blamed the whole thing on Inslee, and he said, we're going to work better. We're going to do better. We're going to fix this. And what did he promptly do? Sign the largest tax increase in state history. First it was, we have $1 billion we're short. No, it's $2 billion. No, it's $4 billion. No, it's $6 billion. No, it's $8 billion. No, it's $10 billion. No, it's $12 billion. Well, it's actually somewhere between 16 and 18. We don't even know. Oh, what's a few billion between friends? We don't even know how big the shortfall is. And then they signed the largest tax increase in state history. And then right after they did it, right after the legislative cycle was over 2 years ago, what did they do? Yeah, we're going to have another budget crisis. We're going to have another one. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. And then in this one, when they raise taxes again and sign the millionaire tax into law, the income tax into law, that's going to hit all of us right afterwards. We might still be a little short. Might be $1 billion. Might be a little short. Mm-hmm. So now when he says the shortfall will be significant, he says, I'm meeting with our agencies and communicating my goals. Preserve core services. Protect our state's most vulnerable, like those trans inmates. Don't raise taxes. Don't raise taxes. Don't raise taxes, says the guy who signed the largest tax increase in state history on the income tax and celebrated signing the income tax. You remember he said, we're not going to tax our way out of this, then signed the largest tax increase in state history. You remember that? That's what he did. And then after that, we're not going to tax our way out of this. Oh, here comes the millionaire tax. Oh, look at me. I'm keeping the pen for myself that I used to sign the income tax. This is for me. It's going right here in my pocket protector because he's a bit of a dork. It's going right there. Address the structural challenges in our budget to achieve long-term financial stability and protect our AAA bond rating. Last time I checked, it was at risk. In addition to that long-term financial stability, you raided the rainy day fund. You raided the first responder pension account. You guys are the most fiscally irresponsible people on the planet. On the planet. Are you kidding me with this? Give me a break. So we need to repeal the income tax. You need to repeal the income tax. And you know why the Democrats are fighting so hard to keep it? Because they know it results in billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, over the next decades where they have this thing in place. They are going to throw everything they can at it. Everything they can. Our friend, Mother Teresa, the signature gatherer, was out today collecting signatures. She says she was out. Where was she exactly? She was out in Mount Vernon today. And that she got threatened by an event manager of a festival, had to remove the tents they were at, and had to close down for the day, even though they were collecting signatures. She says tomorrow she's going to be out at the Walmart Supercenter from 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., the one at 1250 Southwest Erie Street, Oak Harbor, Washington. That's where she says she's going to be tomorrow. But my friends, I'll remind you, is that if you go to letsgowashington.com, you can find the places where you can sign to repeal the income tax, or you can order the sheets directly to your house. The people that came up to the KVI booth today, yesterday when we were out at the Roy Rodeo, and said, I just got my sheets. I'm so excited. I'm sending them back, or I need more sheets. I need them for my friends. My friends are all asking for them. Where can I find them? You go to letsgowashington.com. You can order them to your house. They're free of charge. They will show up. They'll have a self-addressed stamped envelope that can go right back to Let's Go Washington, or you can find a signing location. And don't wait till the last minute, my friends. As much as I want to say, hey guys, me and Brian Haywood got this big signing event at the end of the month, which we'll give you details on. As much as I want to say, yeah, come out to that and see us, of course you can come out to that and see us. But get the signatures in before then, so we know that we have enough, and that way you don't have to work as hard. Get your signatures in before then. I'm getting story after story after story of people getting harassed while they're gathering signatures. It's beyond crazy. Beyond crazy. So guys, you got to sign this thing. You got to work to stop this. From Elaine, she says over on the KVI studio text line, Ari, I signed the petition last week at Fred Meyer's in Snohomish. It was truly multicultural. The signature gatherer was black, another signer was an Asian man, and myself and an old white woman. A question to ask the despicable people trying to stop the initiatives is, do they believe in democracy, and why are they supporting the kings and queens in Olympia? Exactly. Craig in Puyallup wants to know where he can get a KVI pen. Craig, you come to the next time when we're out there. We have, what do we usually give out? Let's go through it. You got the KVI flags, the American flags we give out. We give out the pens. We give out the pencils. Oh, I may have just used up all the pencils this weekend, by the way. No more pencils. Sorry.
They've been there a long time, so well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
And a couple of stickers. Back the blue.
Yep.
And then a keep right. KVI,
for your bumper sticker.
Yeah, bumper
exactly.
stickers. Yeah.
And a copy of the United States Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. That's the usual KVI package.
Pocket
when we're
Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's right. We usually got that. So, Craig, just listen for when the next event is happening. And you come on out there. KVI will be out there. We'll have all the goodies there for you. It'll be good stuff, okay? This one here, Mike says, Fergie is channeling Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon franchise. Can you spot me a few dollars, Clark? I'm seeing it. I'm seeing Randy Quaid right now in front of my face doing that. Can you spot me a few bucks? I'll pay it back, I promise. Yeah, the problem is he's doing that with the firefighters. He's doing that with the police officers. And he's doing that with the EMTs. That's who he's doing. And they don't plan on paying it back. They just said, we're taking all this. It's ours now. They're more like the birds in Finding Nemo. Mine. That's them. That's the Democrats. They think everything is theirs. I don't know if you saw this cringeworthy video that came out over the weekend. Jamie Peterson trying to look cool and human and like a dad. He don't look like no dad. Whatever. He's making cookies. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't you be making pie crusts for the pie crust promise you broke? That you claim easily made, easily broken? Shouldn't you be making pies instead? A little self-awareness that probably a baking video is not the best thing to tout your success in the Washington State Legislature. This one here, Elaine also adds that she signed the petition for voter ID, which, by the way, is going around with the Let's Go Washington folks. She said it was at her church yesterday. So, yeah, guys, you got to bring these things to church. You got to bring these things to synagogue. You got to bring these things to your business. You got to bring them wherever you go if you want to get this thing done. That's how we get it done, my friends. Then we'll do the judge fight. We have lots of fights to do this time. We got a lot. If we want to make sure that we can keep all these jobs here in Washington, and how many have left already. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, Department of Justice is now investigating radical ideology in San Francisco public schools. Apparently telling them, hey guys, we're on to you. You better stop that. Wasn't enough, and San Francisco kept doing it. Now the hammer of justice is coming down on them. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Do you remember in the 90s when they were putting Kathy Ireland into every movie they possibly could? Not that I was complaining. I think I saw 2 movies specifically because Kathy Ireland was in them. The first one was Loaded Weapon. You remember that one, which was a spoof of Lethal Weapon? And you had Emilio Estevez playing the Mel Gibson part, and you had Samuel L. Jackson playing the Murtaugh part. I haven't seen that movie in years. I wonder if it holds up. I'm kind of curious. I remember loving that movie. And they had, what's her face? They had Kathy Ireland as the gal in that. Can't forget that. The other movie I think I saw because of Kathy Ireland was Necessary Roughness. Necessary Roughness was Scott Bakula, where this team doesn't really, this school, their football team's terrible, so they go out and recruit whoever they can. They get the sumo wrestler, they kind of rip that off in the replacements, and they need a kicker. So who do they find? They find a girl soccer player who's the best kicker they can find, and she is now the kicker for the team, and that is Kathy Ireland. It's one thing if a girl wants to go play on a boys' team. Why? Because she may not have options. Think about the Saved by the Bell episode where Christian Slater's sister, AC Slater's sister has to show up to play, and she has to wrestle with the boys because there's no girl wrestling team, and she's beating the boys, and then Zach gets all self-conscious because this girl's tougher than him. It gets solved in 27 minutes. Don't worry about it, my friends. It gets solved really, really quickly, right? So AC Slater's sister is tough.
I've said it before. In junior high, I had a girl on the wrestling team. Guess whose weight class she was in?
Yeah. Okay, so perfect example right there.
Because there was no female wrestling team, and I guess she really, 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 really wanted to wrestle.
Yeah. Those first few years when I coached T-ball and then Little League, before there was a really, really big difference between the boys and girls, had a few girls on our team. We did have a few girls on our team for a while there until you realize, this just ain't safe anymore. And even though there's no girls team, I'm sorry, girls, but we don't want you getting killed out here on the field. There's a reason there's girls softball and boys play a different sport. These things exist for a reason. If a girl wants to sign up for that, that's her prerogative. But now apparently schools are taking advantage of the trans nonsense. A new report has revealed that San Jose State University intentionally recruited Blair Fleming, a trans-identified male, to the school's volleyball team because he was good enough to make us better. So I see it's the reverse situation here. You're saying, well, if I got a girls team, soon we might as well just recruit all the guys to play on the girls team and we'll be golden. We'll solve this. I know. Let's do this. We want to make the Storm win every year as soon as LeBron retires. Let's get LeBron and get a few other guys to play for the Storm. We will dominate. You want to end this nonsense? That's how you do it. That is how you do it. Just watch. Fleming made headlines in the 2024 season as teams from across the region, according to the Post Millennial, protested playing against the transgender player with a Title IX investigation being launched by the Department of Education under President Donald Trump. Girls on the San Jose State team also protested having a male play on their team, citing unfairness and discomfort at sharing women's-only spaces with any male. Plus, cut down your starting time. Many women's colleges teams refused to play against San Jose State, taking the loss rather than compete in unfair circumstances. A San Jose coach was fired for speaking out against there being a man on the women's team. Fox News Digital obtained the written findings from the Department of Education's investigation, which were provided in response to a public records request. The findings included allegations about the recruitment of Fleming, which took place in 2022. The findings stated internal email communications provided by the university indicate that the head women's volleyball coach contacted the director of San Jose State University Pride Center and Gender Equity Center to discuss recruiting a male volleyball player for the San Jose State University women's indoor volleyball team. Additional communications indicate Coach 1 stated that Student 1 texted him wanting to commit. Sure, why not? Go recruit them. It's like that Let's Go Marshall movie, right? Which is based on the true story. We got to go get freshmen. We got to go get basketball players. We got to go get whoever we can to fill out this football team. Here, instead, what they're saying is, you know what we got to do instead? We got to go get the dudes to play on the girls' team. That way we can win. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. This is the end of women's sports, which is why we have to support the initiative to make sure boys are not playing in girls' sports. This is only the tip of the iceberg, my friends. Now, in addition to that, the Justice Department has launched a compliance review concerning gender ideology in San Francisco Unified School District and 3 additional California school districts because this has gotten so out of hand. including the Graves Elementary School District, the Santa Rita Union School District, and the Soledad Unified School District. So that's basically the California school districts, regarding instruction on sexual orientation and gender ideology in grades pre-K through 12. Why are you teaching this stuff to pre-K? Why are you teaching this? In pre-K, it's who wants a truck, who wants a Barbie, right? Quote, the Department of Justice will not tolerate local school authorities trampling on the rights of parents concerning the education of their children, said Harmeet Dillon. In the press release, the Supreme Court's recent decisions put all school districts on notice. Policies that keep parents in the dark about sexuality and gender ideology in the classroom must end now. The review will examine whether and to what extent the California school districts have notified parents of their right to opt their children out of such instruction. Under California law, sex education must include these topics, while parental notice and opt-out provisions apply to all or part of sex education. The San Francisco Unified School District, for example, has previously advised its teachers that neither parental permission nor notification are required to teach or discuss these topics. Further, the topics appear to be embedded in California's social studies and history classes. This is what I was mentioning before. This stuff is part of the curriculum. You can't opt out of it. They said, oh, you can opt out of sex ed, but they weave it into social studies. They weave it into history. They weave it into English. They weave it into math. I even saw some school districts weaving it into music class. This is the insanity they are doing. They're also going to see if they are still allowing the boys to compete on girls' sports teams. The review will examine whether the California school districts, which all receive taxpayer funding, are adhering to Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. You know, there's a simple solution for this, guys. For those school districts in California, you know what you can do? You want to keep doing this woke insanity? Stop accepting the federal money. There are conditions to accepting federal money. You don't want the federal money, or you want to keep doing this insanity, just stop accepting the federal money. That's it. You're done. Then you can do whatever you want with whatever wacko ideology you want to do it with. You don't have to accept the federal money. If you keep accepting the federal money, guess what? There are federal conditions. Do you know the hoops I have to jump through for the Homeland Security funding I'm getting for security grants for our synagogue? They want environmental reports. And this is the Trump administration. They want all kinds of reports. And we do it because we want the federal funding for the security. So we do it. If we want to pay for it ourselves, then we don't have to do any of this insanity. We can just do what we want to do. We do what the feds ask for because we want the federal money. Same thing goes for the schools. Same exact thing. Question is, why isn't funding being allocated towards safety in Seattle? Up next, my friends, the march on Saturday, with residents taking matters into their own hands when local Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson fails to actually protect anybody. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson says that Seattle is ready for the World Cup. A city that's ready for the World Cup doesn't have hundreds of its own residents out in the streets protesting for better safety because of how dangerous it is. Over the weekend, a few hundred residents, according to Como News, living near Aurora Avenue North, marched up and down the busy highway, blocking off traffic as they called for the city to take action to curb worsening sex trafficking and gun violence that has spilled into their neighborhoods. Now, guys, I say this all the time, as much as I support what they're doing, 100%. Don't block the streets. Don't block the streets. You piss off more people that way. Don't do it. Don't be like the Hamasniks. Don't block streets. Just be out there and march for it. In fact, multiple elected officials attended the protest. Now, what I find interesting about this, why are elected officials going to this thing? Now, people like Lisa Mannion, who's the King County prosecutor who showed up to this thing. Lisa Mannion, you know what we could do? Prosecute more crimes, Lisa Mannion. Keep prolific offenders behind bars, Lisa Mannion. And then guess what? Then you might have less criminals on the streets. Why are they showing up? Because they want to show they're against Katie Wilson. They want to show, no. I may be left, but she's a whole bit of crazy on her own. I don't want to be part of that. Multiple elected officials attended the protest within the Oak Tree Village Plaza near the pedestrian bridge at 102nd Street. Walked with the frustrated residents on the avenue, speaking to them and listening to their pleas for help. The protest was called after several weeks of consistent gunfire hitting families' homes and vehicles, leaving many families feeling unsafe ahead of the summertime when activity typically ramps up even more. Homeowners and renters alike say they're fed up with the violence and the sex trafficking and the prostitution that fuels the shootouts and demands that city leaders take immediate and long-term steps to address the issues that have plagued the avenue for years. You remember Seattle City Attorney Ann Davidson? Ann Davidson. She set up specific areas because it was such a problem. No prostitution in these areas, even though Seattle kind of looks the other way. Erica Evans, our new Seattle City Attorney, basically says, I'm not going to enforce any of that. I'm not going to do anything about that at all. Was Erica Evans at this? No, I don't think she was. One resident said, we're really out here demanding action. It's as simple as that, said Aaron, a nearby homeowner. Says there's been multiple shootings in his neighborhood this year, from King County to the city of Seattle and the state at this point, because it's really, really scary. City Council member Bob Kettle, who is the chair for Public Safety Committee, as well as City Attorney Erica Evans, members of the King County Prosecuting Office. Wait, Erica Evans showed up? Hang on a second. Then Erica Evans, guess what? Prosecute the crimes. You can prosecute the crimes. Hey, Bob Kettle, why don't you hire more police officers? Why don't you guys can do this? Nobody wants to be on the bad side. Nobody wants to be on the same side as somebody like Katie Wilson. Even Erica Evans, who's a far left progressive, is like, don't rope me in with those guys. I don't want to be in with them. I want a job. I want to get reelected. If you're seen as in with Katie Wilson, you're on the wrong side of things, which shows you how weak Katie Wilson actually is. You had former elected leaders such as City Attorney Ann Davidson, Councilmember Sarah Nelson, Councilmember Kathy Moore, who many residents championed for her efforts to directly address the Aurora corridor during her tenure before stepping down in June of 2025. Many said they were upset not to see Mayor Katie Wilson in attendance. Well, of course she's not going to show up. The protest is against her. Quote, I think it's really unfortunate she's not able to be here, but I think the message needs to be heard by her office and that we're ready to see a concrete action plan. Oh, Katie Wilson's got a concrete action plan. Just put concrete in the streets. That'll do it, right? Just block things off with concrete? Isn't that how Seattle does things? Oh, the rioters of the autonomous zone who seized 6 blocks of Seattle, let's just give them concrete barriers. That way they'll be able to seize it better, right? Let's do that. Here it's just, we're going to do traffic calming measures. That's what they call them, traffic calming measures. Does that mean speed bumps? By the way, Kevin, I don't know if you noticed this. The speed bump thing is becoming an issue. It's becoming an issue for me. They're putting speed bumps everywhere. And anytime I'm behind a slightly nicer car, they hit the brakes now because they're worried about the speed bumps. And when they're in an SUV, I go, what are you doing? You will fly right over. This morning, I almost rear-ended a guy 3 times because he kept hitting the brakes before the speed bumps. In a Lexus.
I mean, that's what they're there for. That's why you're supposed to.
No. They're slowing down and then they're stopping and then going forward over this. You know what I'm talking about. There's the 10 miles an hour or the 15 miles an hour or the 20 mile an hour speed bumps.
Plus, by the way, if no one's coming the other way, you cheat it over.
Yeah.
And that's that part in the middle that doesn't have the speed bump.
Yeah.
You let one of your two of your wheels hit that one and it's just the other, you know what I mean?
You're golden. You do that all the time. Sometimes when I want to fly over these things, I take the hit from my wife, right? Where I'll put my side up on the speed bump and then just let her go because she doesn't like when I speed over the speed bumps.
Yeah.
Right? She doesn't like when I do that. But have you noticed this? More and more people are slowing down like this.
The worst is when you have a street where there's a couple of them on there and then you drive through there, a couple weeks later and you see they've spray painted where the new ones are going to go in. You're like, oh no. And then like a couple weeks later, there they are.
More speed bumps. You know what I would love to know? How does this affect emergency vehicles? Oh, we got to save this man's life. Oh, we got to do compressions. What the heck? We're just bouncing up on this. I mean, do they straddle the speed bumps? Is that how that works? It just goes through? I mean, if my Charger can do it, my Charger's pretty good about this because it's the wide body. So it just goes right across those. I love my friends over at Renton, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram because I just go right over those suckers. But if you're in an SUV, just go right over those suckers. Just go. They didn't reduce the speed limits. They just put out the speed bumps. They reduced the speed limits already. It's making matters so much worse, but that's how we're going to stop the drive-by shootings, right? Speed bumps. Traffic calming measures. That's how we do it, right? Our friend Andrea Suarez was over on Fox News this morning for a very long segment talking about the drug issues, talking about the crime issues, talking about the prostitution. She did a phenomenal job addressing all this because of how out of control it's gotten. And talking about how no, homelessness is not getting solved despite what Katie Wilson tells everybody that it is. Wow. You have housing for 50 people. What was the last estimate of King County? 30,000? Wow, you did it. You're going to solve it. By the time you're out of office, what is that, like 4 years? So you will have housed 200 people, and how many people will have come here to supplement them? Up next, my friends, the President of the United States is going to Madison Square Garden for the NBA Finals tonight, and a lot of people just ain't happy about this. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. When I went to school in Manhattan, we were always mad when the president came to town because it always sucked. Everything is blocked up. Everything is shut down. It's an absolute nightmare in Manhattan. Anytime the president's speaking at the UN or there for any reason, it was terrible. Now I want you to imagine the NBA Finals. Madison Square Garden is on top of one of the major transit hubs, Penn Station, in the middle of New York City. You've got that problem. So now it's going to affect mass transit and the surface streets. And now you're throwing the NBA Finals. I love President Trump. I do. But, dude, watch it from the White House movie theater. Or I know you're a Knicks fan. And believe me, if I was president of the United States and the Mets are in the World Series, I'd want to go and I'd want to throw out the first pitch. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I know the security we had to go through to get into the RNC, and that's what they set up in New York. They set up the giant fences like you saw after January 6th around D.C. by Nancy Pelosi. Multiple checkpoints. You have to show your ticket. You have to show ID. You have to go through the metal detector. You have to get patted down. And the New Yorkers just want to party. Plus, because it's in the middle of New York City, of Midtown Manhattan, there's all these parties that erupt outside. Those people you see celebrating after Knicks games, they're not the people who are at the game. They're the people who couldn't afford the tickets to get into the game. And now you have to move all those parties as well. I get why people are pissed. Believe me, I do. I understand this. But the people I don't get are the Democrats. All the Democrats who are like, I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. They're like Homer Simpson coming out of the bush, right, in the Knicks gear. I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. Kevin shaking his head. He's like, Hoffman, shut up. You claim to be a Knicks fan, and you barely mentioned it. All right, Kevin, I freely admit I have not watched the Knicks since 1999. I haven't watched a single game of the finals even. Haven't even watched that. I still can't name any of the Knicks. Still can't do it. I know. I know what you're feeling with this, but here's the thing.
If I was in New York, I don't even know if I'd be a New York team fan of any sport.
You want to have friends growing up or not?
Obnoxious.
Yes,
that's so obnoxious.
But if you lived in New York, you'd be obnoxious too.
And you know what? You guys were there since the beginning of the United States. You've had time to cultivate and become this thing that you are.
Yes.
Enough. I don't care about the songs about New York. There's like 1,000 songs about New York.
Yes.
Shut up already. It's great.
Okay. I am not disagreeing with you with any of that because I don't particularly care. But I will tell you this. This is what I care about. Hakeem Jeffries today. The House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, and AOC and Zoran Mamdani are all like, we've been Knicks fans our whole lives. Okay. You have to understand how Hakeem Jeffries is dressed while he's saying this. Kevin, did you watch the clip or you just listened to the clip?
It was playing up on the TV here. I didn't pay attention to it.
Okay. I will tell you, he is dressed like he's going to a baby shower. He is dressed in the palest blue suit I have ever seen and a pink shirt and a pink New York Knicks hat. All right. Is it Breast Cancer Awareness Day or something? Because otherwise there's no excuse for a man to be dressed like that. I mean, well, some men can dress like that, but Hakeem Jeffries is not one who can pull it off. Here's something else. That hat is brand new. How do I know? No broken in brim and the sticker's still on it. And for those of you who say, Ari, that's the way the kids wear them now.
That is the way the kids wear them now.
Is Hakeem Jeffries a kid?
No, but it is like also part of a culture, hip-hop culture that started it. So,
hello, fellow young people. I understand.
Yeah,
Hakeem Jeffries is not pulling this off. He's not. And then he goes and he says the dumb thing that he didn't learn his lesson from Kathy Hochul last week.
You're a big Knicks fan, obviously. President Trump is going to the game tonight. Your reaction to that?
Obviously, he's a huge Knicks fan by wearing the blue and pink.
So I've had a few things to say about Donald Trump going to the Knicks game. And, at this point, it's game day. And I think Knicks fans just want to enjoy Game 3, the first home game that we've had in 27 years. But it also is not clear to me that Donald Trump is a big Knicks fan.
All right, stop. This is so bad that even CNN was calling him out for it.
Who's more of a New Yorker president than Donald Trump? I know he has rejected his citizenship there and has moved to Florida, but the guy has a tower called Trump Tower up on Fifth Avenue. He's from Queens. He is a New York character and has been for decades. It's not like out of the realm that he would want to go to Madison Square Garden and be part of the action.
In fact, how many montages have we played of the dude at Knicks games? Never seen Hakeem Jeffries chilling out with anybody down there, any of the celebrities down there. Never seen that. But yet, they all want to bandwagon. And normally, I don't care about bandwagons. There's space for everybody. But just to gain political points? Spare me your nonsense. Coming up next, final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, plus a whole lot more. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson is doubling down on the failed King County Regional Homelessness Administration after all their corruption and waste has been exposed. But before we get to any of that, my friends, California has turned election day into election season. In most places, voters go to bed on election night with a pretty good idea of who won. In California, especially Los Angeles, you could be a week out of election day and still have races flipping, candidates who thought they lost suddenly taking the lead, and voters being told to just trust the process as the count just drags on and on and on. They say they may not have results for 37 days. 37 days. And now we're watching it happen again. A week after Election Day for Los Angeles Mayor, there's still no final answer. Election analyst Nate Silver, who's on the left, by the way, is calling out California's election system. He's never seen anything like it. Nithya Raman, who looked defeated on election night, is now ahead as more ballots come in days later. This is her on election night, who nobody knew who she was, had no support. This was her on election night.
Kaveri, I hope you know that everything every person in this room is fighting for in this campaign has been about building a city that's worthy of you and every child in this city.
And now she was crying thinking she had lost. She was down by 8 points, tens of thousands of votes. And now magically there's a 40,000 vote swing last minute. It used to be Democrats and diehards vote early. Now, what is it with the mail-in balloting system that's totally turned around, where Republicans are the only ones responsible enough to get their ballots in on time, Republicans and moderates, and the crazy ballots just keep coming after that. Of course, the obvious question that comes up is who is actually running the elections down there in Los Angeles? And actually, for those of you here in Washington, especially in King County, it's a name from the past. You know the name Dean Logan?
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Before he became the Los Angeles County Registrar, Logan ran King County elections in Washington State. During the infamous 2004 governor's race between Republican Dino Rossi and Democrat Christine Gregoire. You guys all remember this, right? I don't have to refresh anybody's memories. Okay. For the people who may not have been conservative back then, or for the people who may not have been paying attention, or for the people in our audience who do not live here. In the 2004 elections, the first big election I participated in when I moved here, you had Dino Rossi, who was a Republican, running against Christine Gregoire, who was a Democrat. The race became the gold standard for election chaos. And this is after hanging chads and all the insanity in the 2000 elections. On election night, Dino Rossi led. After the initial count, he was ahead by 261 votes out of nearly 2.8 million votes cast. Then came a machine recount, and Rossi still led, this time by just 42 votes. Then came the hand recount, and that's when everything changed. King County found, and I'm using the air quotes, hundreds of previously rejected ballots. Ultimately, 566 ballots were added back into the count. After Rossi had won the original count, and with the machine recount, Gregoire was declared the winner after the manual recount by roughly 130 votes. Rossi won once. Rossi won twice. And then in triple overtime, after more ballots surfaced, and the process shifted again, Gregoire won the third count and became governor. The entire incident became a national embarrassment for Washington State and one of the first major stress tests of its expanding vote-by-mail system. And after that mess, they didn't say, hey, you know what, maybe we need to do some things so this doesn't happen again. Oh, actually, one side did. They said, how do we make it not so close next time? So instead, Dean Logan eventually became the head of the largest and most complex local election jurisdiction in America. in Los Angeles, serving more than 5.2 million registered voters across more than 500 political districts. His tenure in LA has had its own problems. In 2008, roughly 50,000 ballots were initially excluded because voters failed to properly mark party affiliation. They forced you to do party affiliation. Remember that idea here? Remember that nonsense? Then in 2018, Los Angeles County contracted with Smartmatic to help build its voting solutions for all people system known as the VSAP at a cost of roughly $282 million. But many called out the system. Election security analysts and state reviews reportedly identified vulnerabilities, warning about possible tampering or disruptions if problems were not addressed. And here we go again. Another California election, another drawn-out count, another race where the story changes days after voters went to bed on election night. And whether it's Washington in 2004 or Los Angeles today or Washington today, the concern is the same. Elections should not feel like a mystery box where the result changes after days of counting, ballot curing, late arriving returns, and bureaucratic explanations. Voters deserve a system that is fast, transparent, and trustworthy. Look at Florida. Florida is the gold standard, and I am not saying that because they're the freest state in the country right now. That's not why I'm saying that. You remember the mess in 2000 with the presidential election? Lawsuits, challenges, hanging chads. Do you know what a hanging chad is for our younger listeners? A hanging chad is when you punch something on a punch form like they used to have to fill out at the Mariners game for the All-Star voting. You remember that? You used to take your All-Star ballot and punch your vote and hand them in, right? You remember that? So the chad is that little piece of paper that sometimes doesn't come all the way off. Well, if somebody put a pencil through this, but it's still attached, do they really mean to vote for George Bush or do they really mean Al Gore? You remember this nonsense? Months. Kevin was in talk radio back then. Kevin remembers this like it was yesterday. How long did that drag on for? 3 months, 6 months?
I wasn't in talk radio.
Oh, you weren't?
I was
then.
not.
Okay,
no,
you were not.
I was running Mariners games, but I did remember hearing all about the hanging chads.
They never stopped.
No.
It did not stop. I didn't even care about politics back then, but they didn't shut up about the hanging chads. Didn't stop it. Who voted for this? Who voted for that? Florida could have said, you know what? We need to make our system worse. That's what they could have done. Instead, Florida goes, how can we fix this? Through both Democrat and Republican administrations, they said we can fix this. And election night, Florida has what, 23 million people in it? Especially plus nowadays, a lot of Californians who moved there during COVID. Boom, election night, polls close. Few minutes later, here's your results from Florida. No questions asked. In Los Angeles, they're still counting and counting, counting and counting weeks later. So we're a week out of this thing. And they say it might be 37 days till you find all the votes you need. Is that what's going on? No wonder the feds are now interested in checking out what's going on in Florida because this just don't make sense. According to the post-millennial U.S. Attorney for California, Bill Esseley, has attempted to undertake an investigation of California's allegedly fraudulent voting process, saying that protecting the integrity of California's elections is a top priority for my office. However, he said that California is now blocking a federal audit of its voter rolls. This is a state that allows first-time voters to register to vote using gym membership, employer ID cards, credit or debit cards, prescription drug labels, and insurance cards in a state that allows illegal immigrants to get state-funded insurance. So an illegal alien can get state-funded insurance and then use that card to register to vote. Or because of motor voter laws, the second you get the driver's license, you can use that to register to vote. None of these identification methods show a social security number or proof of U.S. citizenship. And that's why the feds are saying it deserves a closer look. He noted that the dead voters are not removed from the rolls in a prompt manner, which means you have people who are on there for 2, 3, 4 cycles of presidential elections when they're supposed to be taken off. California also allows ballot harvesting, where the chain of command of a voter's ballot goes from the voter on to a person who collects the ballots for delivery before being handed off for processing. That is not voter integrity. That is not ensuring a safe chain of custody. Not at all. But yet, they continue doing this thing. I love how CNN is like, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's all fine.
Dynamic that we saw back in 2020 when states took longer to vote. It looked like Republicans were doing better at the beginning. They tend to vote earlier. The votes tend to be counted just culturally, not even sure why, tend to be counted first. And then once the votes that are already there legally are counted.
You're using 2020 as an example. 2020 is an outlier according to every single statistical analysis because of what was going on during COVID. Nobody believes the 2020 election was correct, shall we say. People believe Joe Biden should be president, but nobody believes that thing isn't a massive outlier. Don't refer to that. Oh, you think I'm being conspiratorial? In 2010, on election night, Republican Steve Cooley declared victory only to find out the next morning he was actually behind. This isn't new. This has been going on for years.
November 2nd election, California finally has declared a winner in the attorney general race, and it's not the one Karl Rove wanted.
I pride myself and us of living in a state that has always been known to be the source of change. So goes California, goes the rest of the country. We are the place that has the courage to invite new approaches, always in search of innovation, not because we're bored with things the way they've been, but because we strive to be efficient and effective and relevant.
Called by some observers the female Barack Obama, Kamala Harris is already making history. She is the first female, the first African American, and the first Indian American to hold the position of California Attorney General. Despite Karl Rove's last-minute ad buy against her, Harris finished so close to her Republican opponent that it took a month to finish counting every vote. She won by less than 1 percentage point. Her win completes a clean sweep of the 8 statewide offices for California Democrats.
Let's look back on that in hindsight, shall we? First of all, Kamala Harris doesn't sound as flaky back then as she does now. Must have had better speechwriters back then. Must have been able to deliver a speech better back then. But also on top of that, we could have avoided Kamala Harris. We could have avoided her if not for this nonsense. Took a month to find out that she was the one who finally was declared the victor after all this craziness. It's been happening since 2008 in California. It's been happening long before that here in Washington State because they found a formula that works. And if you dare to call it out, you're an election denier. You're a threat to democracy. Remember all that? We should be investigating what's going on in California. Why does it take this long to count anything? Why? He added, and this is the DOJ, that they have spent over a year trying to audit voter rolls to make sure that only U.S. citizens are permitted to vote. But California has stood in the way, and the case is currently in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. California claims they do not have to comply with the federal ask to audit the voter rolls. He said that DOJ's civil rights attorney Harmy Dillon sent California a letter explaining our legal authority. California refused to comply. Look, you want to say you have jurisdiction over your local elections. Okay, you can make that argument. You don't have it over federal elections. You do not. He's claiming that state privacy laws block the review, an argument that does not hold up because those laws don't apply to federal government. The majority of Americans approve of a plan that voting be limited only to American citizens with proof, like the Save America Act is trying to do, but Democrats have been doing everything they can to block it. There is currently a case before the Supreme Court right now. Is it election day or is it election month? So what happens is you have ballots that were postmarked by election day, but is the post office reliable? So you're getting more and more ballots, longer and longer. Oh, and then we found them in the trunk of somebody's car. Then we found them here, and then we found them there. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Are you kidding me with all this? Are you kidding me? I mean, enough of this nonsense. We know something's not kosher here. Otherwise, it wouldn't take this long to figure out who the winner is. How many votes is it going to take? Well, we're short about 20,000. Here's something interesting. You want an interesting coincidence? In fact, Chris Pratt. I keep saying Chris Pratt. I keep doing that. Spencer Pratt even pointed this out at the time. What, a 40,000 vote swing, 43,000 vote swing? You're looking at 43,000 homeless people in the Los Angeles area. Does that mean they all voted? No, of course not. But part of ballot harvesting means people can go into homeless shelters, go into homeless encampments, talk to the people who are on drugs out of their mind and say, can you just sign this and I'll hand it in for you? You can do it at old age homes too. They do it in old age homes. We've seen this before. They do it at community centers. They do it at Rainier Beach Community Center in South Seattle. We've seen it before. This is the kind of stuff that is left wide open with this mail-in balloting nonsense, and it needs to start. It needs to stop. Man, dyslexia for cure found today. Holy cow. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Chris in Bonnie Lake. Chris, what's going on?
Yeah, man. So you were talking about how, that it was all that election fraud was going on in 2008 and all that, blah, blah, blah. But I used to teach AOC Advanced Leaders course for the Army, and one of the things that I had my students write, because the Army wanted me to write about how Barack Obama had killed an American soldier with a drone, and so I was like, no, let's do something different, and let's talk about the War of Athens, Tennessee, and how that was all about ballots being stolen and taken advantage of, and how they use like the law enforcement on their side to actually steal ballots. And if you guys don't know about it, your listeners don't know about it, I highly suggest you read up on the McMinn County War, also known as the War of Athens, Tennessee.
Athens, Tennessee. I will look it up tonight. Feel free to send me any material you want. ARI@KVI.com. That's ARI@KVI.com. Chris, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Tell you what, guys, do you think what's going on in LA is legit? Give us a call or a text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, Socialist Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson and Socialist King County Executive Gurmay Zalai are doubling down on the failed and corrupt King County Regional Homeless Administration. We will tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Our socialist Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson keeps saying we are ready for the World Cup. Do you think we're ready for the World Cup? The video I posted to social media over at Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, the Hoffather over on X, of the guy basically showering inside one of those new World Cup drinking fountains, tells me we are not ready for the World Cup, and it's going to be here very, very soon. Katie Wilson is attempting to hide all the homeless people. So they have this big grand opening of the new tiny home village, and during the grand opening of the tiny home village, Katie Wilson says exactly why this thing is going to be a failure. Here's the report from Como News.
But while treatment and services will always be available, the mayor confirms they're not required for people to move in.
The process of recovery is really complicated and difficult, and so we're not demanding that people be, abstinent when they enter this village.
This has some questioning the new site's success, yet shelter partners claim they've done public outreach with nearby residents and business owners ahead of opening.
Wait. So you have to do the outreach because the business owners and residents nearby are going to say, you're moving a whole bunch of drug addicts with no treatment whatsoever, no expectation of it, into our neighborhood. What do you think is going to happen? Kevin, that thing's not too far away from us. I wonder if it starts bleeding into our area. But this is the kind of stuff they keep doing. They say, we have wraparound services. Nonsense. You know what that actually means? There's no medical facility in the tiny home village. No, there's bathrooms, there's showers, and there's little housing units. There's no medical facilities. It's, you want treatment? We're going to refer you out, if that even happens. By the end of this thing, you know that at least one of those units is going to be converted into the smoking area where they have fentanyl or heroin or whatever else they want in that place, because that's what happened in these other facilities. Well, now, question is, who's going to keep overseeing all this? Because we know that 6 years ago, the fools here in King County and Seattle established the King County Regional Homeless Authority, the King County Regional Homeless Authority. And since then, it's been plagued with scandal. Homelessness has been getting worse. And then you find out they've lost millions of dollars. Lost as in they don't know where it is, not spent it on bad investments. They don't know where it is. So the real question here is, are you going to shut this thing down? Are you going to say enough of this nonsense, perhaps? Well, no, that's not what they're doing. Socialist King County Executive Gurmay Zahalai says our assessment of King County Regional Homeless Plan found inadequate corrective steps and a lack of clear timelines and deliverables for how the agency will strengthen its financial controls and reporting systems. Good start. Protecting taxpayer dollars and maintaining stable services for people experiencing homelessness are my top priority. Good. And it's clear the agency needs to take more action to stabilize and course correct in the short. No, shut it down. To support King County Regional Homeless Authority and hold them accountable to making these changes, King County and the City of Seattle will embed an independent financial analyst in the agency. No, shut it down, then bring in the investigators. Not independent analyst, financial analyst. Give me a break. Somebody like that can go, I'll be part of your grift. Give me a piece of the cut. No. And then, all of a sudden, you've got Katie Wilson coming out with her own statement about this financial analyst. No. Shut it down. This is the first step to prolonging this insanity and keeping them going with the grift. No, shut it down. It's not like this thing has been a huge success with some money problems. No, it's been a colossal failure. Our friend Andrea Suarez from We Heart Seattle was on Fox News today explaining it to all of them.
Of these taxpayer-funded, it's the tiny house village as it's described. This is for the homeless, but you say all you see is that it's being used for drugs. Listen.
I mean, it's a well-intended stabilization village. These are called tiny house villages, but what they end up turning into are consumption sites. And I don't think an everyday taxpayer or neighbor understands what's really going on inside there. And drugs aren't free. So what do people have to do to fuel their addiction? They have to porch prowl, smash and grab, retail theft, siphon gas. Sadly, prostitution is probably one of the top 3 ways people afford addiction. All the while, we're providing this place to use drugs. And it's very hard to get better and seek treatment when the fox is guarding the hen house. And what I mean by that is often your neighbor is your dealer and your other neighbor is your permanent drug buddy. So it's very hard to get clean and sober when everything makes you actually more comfortable to be a drug addict.
And this is the drug house right there for people that do drugs.
What?
So you can come do your drugs. If you're going to do Fetty or something, you come in here and do it. No animals are allowed. And you come in there to do your Fetty. Nobody says anything.
And it's fair, I guess, to say that the city officials are just turning a blind eye to this and ignoring how big of a problem this is getting. This is more video you provided us, the content of the harm reduction supplies from King County, Washington, that are given to homeless people. Can you describe what we're seeing here, the packs of foil to smoke legal and illegal fentanyl and more?
Well, nothing's legal about any of these drugs these people are smoking. Let's be clear about that. And these are my videos. I also provide street outreach. Our focus at We Heart Seattle is drug user intervention. We're really focused on getting at that root cause and triage people every day to treatment centers that are widely available statewide. And our county, on the other hand, is handing out foil and cookers and tourniquet to use illegal lethal drugs. Combined are the #1 cause of death in our nation between the ages of 18 and 45. This is being handed out in public places by our government on our dollar to allow somebody's daughter, brother, son, mother smoke these drugs that are eventually killing them.
It is very clear, again, that housing costs are what are driving the homelessness crisis, and drugs make everything worse. And, you know, if you fall into homelessness, very often people become addicted to drugs once they become homeless. There are a lot of reasons for that. Or if they have, you know, a light substance use disorder, that becomes a severe substance use disorder. So drugs are very entangled with the homelessness crisis, but the real driver is housing costs.
You really think it's housing costs? You really think it's housing costs when they're giving out the stuff to kill yourself with? Mike says over on the text line, even Jenny Durkin thought it should be shut down. Immediately, she had a bad feeling about the whole thing from jump. She did? Mike, do me a favor and find that for me, because I think she was supportive of it. Find that. I don't remember her having a bad feeling. I remember her being supportive of this. I remember at the end, when she was leaving, kind of, sort of saying, well, you know, all these homeless people are not actually from Seattle. I remember that. I don't remember her saying it was a bad idea. I think she was one of the people on the bandwagon about this craziness. This one here from the 253, I wonder if any of the homeless that have killed or hurt others got their drugs while they were committing crimes were given for free. Good question. We should sue whoever is offering free drugs and paraphernalia. I think the family should do that. It takes one lawsuit from a family that goes, they got this from King County, they got this from Seattle, and their fund's over. I think that's exactly how this fund's over. Because I think that the only thing these guys listen to is lawsuits. I think until somebody actually steps up and sues, none of this is going to change. It's clearly not going to get better either. Up next, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts, especially about this voter ID, voter fraud insanity happening down in California. Also, we'll check in the latest of what's going on in the swamp of Washington, D.C. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, so that you never miss a minute of the show, subscribe to our podcast on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Also, while you're there, share it with your friends and give us a little rating, too, to tell us how awesome we are. Lori Dobson is a resident of Maine, and she's a big supporter of the oyster farmer, Graham Plattner. She's a big supporter of his. In fact, when she was asked about his Nazi tattoo, she defended him. But she did make it very, very clear where she drew the line. Give a listen.
Totem Pope tattoo, the Nazi tattoo. How do you kind of...
Somebody said that they talked to somebody who had seen one of those or wore one of those, and it was silver, and it didn't even occur to him that it was the same thing. I think people are making as much of it as they can because they don't have a lot of substance around anything else. And if they did, we'd hear about it, believe me. They are trolling for dirt.
What if he has like a Israeli flag tattoo or something? Would that be a deal breaker?
For me?
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
That would be
Israeli? Yeah, because I don't support genocide, and he doesn't either. And that would show that he was being inconsistent. And he's been very consistent about that. Straight across the board.
So let me make sure I got this right. Nazi tattoo, the Totenkopf, from the SS, the death squads that went around committing genocide. That's okay. Israeli flag, not okay. This is who is supporting this guy. This is who's supporting him. You remember the day that this latest report dropped, Graham Plattner was in Washington, D.C., trying to make nice with the Democrats, trying to calm them down about, no, guys, there's nothing else. I got no other skeletons in my closet. Well, my friends, we now have exclusive audio of those meetings up on Capitol Hill of him trying to calm everybody down about the concerns about his Nazi allegiances.
So Karen tells me you want the full colonoscopy, huh?
Oh, dude, no. We both know, I think, how dumb these things are. You know how it is. It's just due diligence with all the turbulence. And can I just need to check a few boxes?
Sure. Thank you for the show of faith.
No problem. Okay, right. Okay, so this is embarrassing, but just for the record and just so we have it, you are not and have never been a member of the Nazi Party of the United States, have you?
Come on, Tom, are you serious?
Nope. Thank you. Sorry to have to even ask. And, oh yes, the Hitler dog thing.
Okay, the dog thing's bullshit. Great, I thought so. Different spelling.
Okay, different spelling?
Yeah.
Okay, and this other one that came up, just to fend this off, have you ever read Mein Kampf?
Yeah, a couple times, I guess.
Couple times? Are there Easter eggs in there you didn't get the first time?
Look, I'm interested in that period of history, Tom, okay? I've skimmed it.
Skimmed, yeah, thank you. And what specifically do you find interesting about that period of history?
The scale. The tragedy.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and which tragedies specifically?
Europe decimated. 7 million Germans, 20 million Russians, 5 million Poles.
Yeah. Just checking the till here, Mark, and it seems you're short a few million.
Oh, that's from Succession. But yes, that's probably how the conversation went up there. It sounds like an HR meeting that he's having. So, Nazi tattoo, allegedly abused your girlfriend, joined the Predator app. Give me a break with this nonsense. Are you kidding me? This is who the Democrats are backing? My God. I asked you guys earlier if you thought the votes in California were legit. I think Mike wins text of the day. Yes, and I also think strippers like me. Yes, exactly right. Jeff and Ken says, yeah, legitimately corrupt. Robin Lakewood says he wonders if postal workers in Washington have any interesting ballot stories. We've gotten some interesting ballot stories from postal workers in Washington, but we'll put out the call again. If you guys have any interesting stories, you're a postal worker, send them to us. We can keep you anonymous. We'll make sure nobody knows it's you. Be in touch. ARI@KVI.com. That's ARI@KVI.com. This one here from Forrest Cat. He says it's simple. The voter rolls are corrupted with a large number of illegitimate registrations. That alone should invalidate any election results. Exactly. Exactly right. If you have a blueprint, and you, in the end, you have a house, but it's missing all the structural components of it, is that legitimate? No, of course not. Of course not. Eben in Bonnie Lake says, Ari, what's going on in L.A. with the primary for the mayor election stinks to high heaven. I really hope the feds drill down hard and finally expose how the Democrats are pulling this off. And please do Washington next. And if they have time, Oregon. I strongly believe that blue states have the elections rigged and has to stop to save our country. Look, that's why we need the Save America Act. That's also why we need the Supreme Court to do what it has to do. And let's not forget, even, that the Department of Justice did send to Washington, did send to them, hey, guys, we want to see your voter rolls. And Steve Hobbs is like, nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. This guy here, Forrest Cat, adds also, many years ago, I actually knew a guy with a double lightning bolt tattoo. But I'm sure that meant he wasn't a Nazi sympathizer, right? Right? I hate to break it to you. The SS is for the SS. I mean, if he had the two lightning bolts, I don't think he really liked Harry Potter that much. I have questions about that.
What if it's the SS like on an SS Camaro?
Oh,
is
well,
that
see,
okay?
they're not lightning bolts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had an SS Camaro also.
It's confused there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it says IROC on the side of the Nazi helmets. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yes, exactly right. People got a lot of feedback on this. This one here. Oh, this is great. This is the one for the day. You mentioned, this is from the 706. You mentioned before that some parts of Seattle were now immaculate. Yes, they are. Would you call it the immaculate deception? Okay, I like that. I am stealing that. And 706, since you didn't give me your name, I am giving you no credit whatsoever. That is now going to be the immaculate deception. I am seeing the AI images right now. I think that's going to be tomorrow's episode title. The immaculate deception. I like that. I like that one a lot. Forrest Cat adds, why would you try and get the druggies sober when you can keep buying their ballots for the price of a buzz? Not wrong. Not wrong. In other news, did get some good economic news on Friday. In fact, rather than hearing it from Fox, let's hear what CNBC had to say.
And the data is out, the May jobs report, 172,000. Is there any doubt that this anecdotal evidence about a good labor market has been very correct? That is a really strong number. And last month, well, we had a revision from 115,000 to 179,000, which means the 2-month revision has got to be over 90,000. That is a good number. Even manufacturing posted a 7,000 job gain. So how strong is 172,000? That would be the best number since 185,000 in March. These are solid numbers.
That's CNBC. They are definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. This is huge. And as Washington's unemployment numbers are going up, we're hovering just above 5% right now? The national unemployment numbers are going down because it turns out when you attract businesses, whether through tariffs or because it's a good economic availability of, tax incentives and such, like what Nashville's doing, like what Tennessee's doing, like what Florida's doing, then you attract more businesses, which is why people used to come to Washington. Turns out when you tax them to death, they leave. Like Richard Barton, the guy who's the head, the CEO of Zillow, the founder of Zillow, out. Gone. Vamoose. Bye-bye. Just like Howard Schultz. Just like Jeff Bezos. Getting out of here before the taxes can get them and taking the jobs with them. You think it bothers Turd Ferguson when he hears about how great the jobs are over nationally, but terrible here in Washington? This is Fox Business.
Wow. 172,000 non-farm payrolls were added to the economy in May. The estimate was 85,000, guys. There you go. 4.3% is the unemployment rate. Private sector jobs coming in better than expected, 120,000. We were looking for 85,000. Labor force participation rate, 61.8%. 8%. And you're seeing May average work week unchanged, 34.3 hours, and that is on track. Now, April has been revised to 179,000. The original April read, Maria, was 115. They just revised April to 179K, and they're also revising March to 214,000 jobs. The underemployment, that U6 number, that's 8.1%. But again, it is all about these big numbers that we're seeing. Factory jobs, 7,000. That's actually also better than expected.
Remember during the Biden administration when they would revise those numbers down, they would get worse and worse every month? And they would come out with these good job numbers to try and convince you we weren't in a recession? Turns out all we needed was a new president. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And I hear it's going to be in like the 80s this week, later in the week. It was cold this weekend. It was cold and rainy and wet. It snowed in some places in June. Outside, it looks gloomy. I thought we had a deal, God. You give me like 3 or 4 good months, and then we'd put up with this stuff the rest of the year. Anyway, with everybody getting mad about Trump coming to see the Knicks, there was actually this really nice moment from the Tony Awards. That's all the Broadway musicals and stuff last night. Xylon Livingston, who I am not familiar with, but he is a Tony Award-winning director, apparently was up for Cats, the Jellicle Ball, which is a queer ballroom-inspired revival of Cats. I thought Cats was bad beforehand. I hate Cats. It is a terrible musical. And I'm a guy who likes musicals. Kevin knows this. I'm a frustrated theater kid. Cats is one of the worst musicals. I think one of the skits I laughed hardest at Saturday Night Live, which people forget about, James Vanderbeek was hosting Saturday Night Live back when he was Dawson. And they have him on as the new guy who gets to be in Cats the musical. And that thing was running on Broadway for like 20 years or something. So he shows up and all the other cats are like tired and they're overweight and they're exhausted of being the cats. And he's like, I'm here, I'm ready to go. And they're all like, shut up, kid. I laughed just because I hated Cats so much. But as much as I want to bash this new version of Cats, the queer ballroom inspired, I thought the movie was bad. The director actually had a pretty good moment on the red carpet yesterday. They were talking to him about the fact that Cats is apparently Donald Trump's favorite musical. I'm like, really? That's your favorite musical? Okay, dude, whatever. But here's what the director said.
Cats is one of Donald Trump's favorite musicals.
Turns out.
Is there, what would you do if he were to come see it?
Well, our fan says, not just on come one, come all, and we mean that. So if he comes into our theater, he will get a show, and if he chooses to lean in and engage, good for him, and if he doesn't, it is no sweat off of our back.
That's the perfect response, by the way. That's the perfect response.
I wonder why they even ask questions like that. It's so stupid.
You know why they ask questions like that?
Because they want to get a gotcha moment.
Well, first of all, they want the gotcha moment. But second of all, they want me playing the clip of it. They want everybody across the country playing the clip of it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I saw nothing from the Tonys last night except for this clip. And I'm the Broadway dude. Saw nothing. Nothing at all. That's why they play it.
I mean, that's the right answer. It's like anybody, this is America. It's a free country. Anybody can come into our show and watch it.
Exactly.
What do you want me to say?
Exactly.
No, we throw them out because we don't like them. Like,
right.
What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's sad that we have to get excited about something like that on a red carpet because we know what the responses usually are, right? It's usually free Palestine or whatever other nonsense they come up with. So, yeah, perfect response. Perfect response. I still will not see your terrible musical. That's not going to happen. Meanwhile, all this brouhaha about Donald Trump going to the Knicks tonight. Kevin, you're going to laugh about this. I got on the White House press list because we're going to D.C., and I've been talking to them a lot, and I asked to be added to the press list for when they come to town, when we go there. So we get 2 kinds of press releases now. For the in-town pool and the out-of-town pool. The in-town reporters I'm going to need when we go to D.C., right? The out-of-town we get when he travels elsewhere. So now I'm on both lists. Great. Works for me. They sent out this release tonight. Apparently, they got a lot of questions. President Trump is not down on the court. Okay, we thought he was going to be down on the court. No, he's up in one of the boxes. So who's up in the POTUS suite tonight? We're going to give you the list of who's up in the POTUS suite.
Hold on. Kid Rock.
No Kid Rock.
Dana White.
No Dana White.
Oh, man.
No Dana White. You're striking out here, Kevin.
Boy, but those are all those. Hegseth is up there.
No Hegseth.
Come on.
You're not doing well at all tonight.
Come on.
Not at all. You've got
these are all the clowns that usually go with him to the UFC. So that's why I'm throwing them out.
No Elon Musk. None of that. Okay. Maybe the UFC doesn't overlap. Would you like the basketball?
I liked it when we had the Sonics. Okay. I don't care about it anymore because we don't have a team.
It could be that. All right. So Lee Zeldin's up there. Makes sense. He's from New York. I understand that. Knicks fan. Okay. James Dolan, the Knicks owner. Yes, the owner of the team is going to be like, come sit in the owner's box, Mr. President. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Is he a Knicks fan? I don't know what he's doing there. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. He's from New York, right? This is all... Wait, is he from California? Is he from New York? I don't remember. I have to double check that.
I don't remember.
And Kai Trump, the president's granddaughter. Okay, that kind of makes a little bit of sense here. I mean, I seriously love how people like Hakeem Jeffries are saying, are we even sure he's a Knicks fan?
I love that you said that too about whoever, like, oh, are we sure he's a Knicks fan? You don't have to be a Knicks fan.
No.
You would go to something like this
Of
if you were a
course
fan
I
of any-
would.
So like, for you to say that stuff is like, what are you talking about?
If I was the
you
president,
will go to anything if someone will get you into it, and
Yes.
it's something that people are talking about.
Yeah, if the president of the United States, if I was president of the United States and they said, you can go to the World Series, of course I would go. Of course I would. But also, especially if you're
I'm
a Knicks
just
super
saying
fan.
that you have to qualify. Oh, do you think they're a fan? Do they? Who cares?
Who cares? They want to go to the game. Cash Patel wants to get drunk with the U.S. hockey team. Who cares? Well, I mean, he's the head of the FBI, so maybe not a great
Patel was going to be my next guest.
Yeah,
but
no,
he
Patel's
apparently-
not there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Trump has been going to these games for years. 4 years.
Donald Trump, who is a big Knicks fan and who joins us now. Donald, I know you're a Knicks fan, so are you disappointed that Kobe's not here, or are you glad he's not here because it ups your chances?
Well, I guess you could look at it both ways, but I'd like to see Kobe play. I came here to see my man Kobe.
Defense, too, because the Pacers were held scoreless in the last 2 minutes and 41 seconds after they had...
The number one reason to brought the Knicks back.
Shaquille O'Neal's shoe.
Oh my God!
Right here, which is a serious
Is that
shoe.
a real
That's
shoe?
a real shoe. He took it off after a game and handed it to
Oh
me.
my God!
I carried it like this.
Yeah, I
So
guess
this-
because you
yeah,
don't
this
really
is-
like germs anyway, do you?
No, yeah, from
How
Shaq.
are you? How are you?
Guest celebrity cameraman, Donald Trump. Don, welcome to the telecast.
How you doing, folks?
Fine, thank you. We must be paying our cameraman a pretty penny.
You're paying a lot of money. It's a great job.
Thanks for being with us, Don.
Thank you. Great game. Have a good time.
Thanks for being with us, Don. Of course, if you're a fan, you're going to go. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.